Are we ready? Are we ready to,
We are 1 minute away from 5:30.
we have 1 minute to get the room in order.
We need to sync, Madam Clerk.
Hmm.
Look,
Oh, yeah.
okay?
Do we have, are
Everybody
you,
get out your
are you
watches.
chief tonight? Oh, thank you very much.
5:29.
So I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the policy committee regular meeting agenda for Thursday, August 14th at 5:30 PM. Thank you for being here.
Mhm.
This is the public opportunity now to discuss matters of public interest within the committee's scope, including items on or not on the agenda. Do we have any speakers?
I have no speaker cards and no speakers.
Thank you very much. Now we move to the consent agenda. Do we have any discussion for consent?
Make a motion, we adopt.
Madam Clerk, please
Yes.
call the roll, please.
Director Sailors,
Aye,
Director Clark, and Director Gould.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
thank you. Moving on to presentation items. Number 1, policy review update. Chief Human Resources, Melissa Maddox. Welcome.
This on. Good evening, directors. I'm Melissa Maddox, the Chief Human Resource Officer for Metro Fire. Good evening, Chief Wagaman. First tonight, as promised, I just wanted to do our mid-year review on our policy update. Did one back in January of what we were planning for 2025. So now that we're through the first 6 months of the year, I just kind of wanted to give you an update of what we've completed and what's on the horizon. In your packet, you have the this colorful chart. So this is kind of our tracking mechanism that we're using for the 5-year review, with all the policies broken down into their individual categories. So at the beginning of the year or somewhere close to that, an email goes out to all the managers saying, hey, here's a reminder, please, review all your policies. Let us know if there's any changes, if any of them need to be archived, if there's any updates, or if there's no changes, let us know so we can renumber it and get it, within that 5-year schedule. So, we, rely on the manager's help with that, and the divisions are doing a really good job at taking a cursory look at their policies and letting us know this one's good, this is really old. So we're making some decent progress this year so far. We had met with Director Costa probably a month ago or so, and we were trying to figure out some goals on how many we should be doing per policy committee. So that was the purpose of this chart that's in there, is to kind of figure out, okay, how many total policies do we have? How many should we be expecting for every policy committee, which is usually around 2, depending on the division, because some divisions have a lot more policies than others. And then, of course, some of the policies that we would need to bring to policy committee and board are going to not maybe be in this schedule because they're a legal update or something that it needs to be changed right away. So even though they've been updated last year, they need to be updated again. Like if I always bring up FMLA, that policy is constantly changing. So we make sure we're focusing on those policies first that are legal or, need an immediate change. But we want to stay on this 5-year schedule. We want to make sure we're bringing policies to policy committee on a regular basis. So this is kind of our schedule that we're going to try to follow. And, luckily with the manager's help, we'll have enough to bring to the policy committee every week or every month. And, there are a lot of policies in the background, I will say, that may never come to policy committee or the full board because they're just not board policies. But rest assured, all the divisions are working really hard to get us into this 5-year schedule so we can get to a point where we can say, okay, we're good for a while until we need to make, like I said, legal updates and that kind of thing. So as you can see on the chart, it breaks all the policies down by the different branches. We have the board policies, administrative branch policies, Sorry, need my glasses.
Uh-oh.
The operations branch, support services, peace officer policies, and then just general policies. And we have them broken down by the different divisions that have responsibility over those policies. And then the total down at the bottom. Right now, we have 307 policies, but we're hoping that that number will go down a little bit once we can probably archive some of these really, really, really older policies that pop up every now and then. So this is kind of helping us guide our policy committee presentations, how many we need to at least have a goal for to bring and present to you and then full board. So the second chart on here, which is the list of all the policies, this is our actual progress for 2025 so far. So as you can see, we have completed and posted 12 policies from various divisions, some job descriptions, because we've had some recruitments. We did have an archive policy, as you can see, just one so far, which was a extremely old policy. State law has kind of taken over with that particular policy. It's smoking policy. So there's lots of regular laws that don't require us to have a policy like that anymore. So, and then in the blue section are all the policies that we have in progress. So that looks like about 64 of them are in progress. And what that means is they have been assigned to the various divisions or HR or whoever the person in the division that's in charge for those policies, and they're actively working on them. Whether or not they need updates. If they're, don't need any updates, then we can redate them and repost them as updated. Or like I said, we can archive some of them. So not too bad for the first 6 months of the year. Hopefully, I don't know if we'll get through all 58 in the next 6 months, but we're going to try. I'd be happy with 50 or 40, but we'll see. So, like I said, at the beginning of next year, I'll have another update for the policy committee to just kind of keep you apprised of where we're at and how hard we're working on getting all of our policies in a 5-year schedule, make sure we're legally compliant, and changing anything that may need to be changed based on changes in the MOU, sometimes create policy changes and that type of thing. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have on that.
Hi.
Hi.
I knew when you saw that I was substituting tonight, you went, oh,
No.
probably wanted to play hooky, huh? All right, code 3 driving policy. Can we not just address code 3 driving? Why not emergency vehicle operating or something more inclusive? Because I think the issue is safe driving of our vehicles. And it seems to me like by just calling out code 3, we're kind of leaving it not very general. And unless there's some state law that says we have to have a policy, I don't know why we don't kind of address that one. The other thing is, what are we doing, Melissa, to look at potentially archiving more and more of these? It seems like there's so many of these things that probably don't, can be, brought into others, and we can get away from this giant number, which then puts so much burden on all of you to constantly keep up versus just looking at them like, do we need that anymore? And take a critical eye to what's the point if we've never even used the policy and we don't see it, why have it in the book?
Exactly. And that is our goal for sure. That is a big number of policies. So we're hoping that there are going to be some archives. I mean, just looking at the policies that HR is responsible for, some of them, are really old. Some of them, we didn't even know what it was. So soon as we are positive, because we don't want to just randomly archive a policy, we want to make sure that we reach out to whatever division that policy may affect, because maybe there's something we don't know that they know. So we're doing our due diligence to definitely get this number down to a manageable number. And like you said, combining some of them, because I know ours were kind of some of ours, the HR is over, but we're redundant. So
to me, it's it's worse to have a policy that you haven't addressed in 2 decades than
Yeah.
to just simply not have a policy, because it makes us look, less than on top of things. And I would rather see us aggressively push it into other documents if we can, than have 50 that we haven't talked about for a decade.
Yes.
And like you use the term more manageable. I think that's really where we want to get, right? So that we
Yes.
can stay on top of a more manageable amount.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And to your code 3 policy, that is definitely one that's on the list to be reviewed. We'll obviously work through operations, on that one, but I have had to pull that out.
You could even probably call
for
it EVOC
certain
training or
circumstances.
EVOC policy or something, right? Because we drive around a lot more non-code 3 than we do code 3, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, that's the one that stood out to me, and thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate that time. Are we getting to the next one?
Yes, if you're ready,
Okay.
unless there's any more questions. Okay.
On the investigation unit policies, are we writing our own policies, or is Lexipol still?
On the peace officer,
Yes.
yeah, no, I believe, Fire Marshal Nygren is using Lexipol for the peace officer ones. Yeah,
Thank you.
Yep.
That's my only question.
all right.
So if we're satisfied with policy review update, shall we move on to presentation item number 2, which
Ready?
is board policy 01.002.04, workplace violence policy.
All right. And I do want to mention again, I can't take credit for this policy at all. Leslie Miller, our HR analyst, has worked on this policy for almost a year. There was a new law that came out that requires every employer to have a workplace violence plan in place. But as with some laws that come out, there's not really clear direction on what it's supposed to look like, how it's supposed to function. And it was every employer in the state of California. So there wasn't necessarily a template that would fit each employer the same way. So she's spent months researching and getting this workplace violence policy plan together. We've had a separate group, security group, kind of work together, look through it, and come up with, better ways to protect our employees within our buildings and have this plan in place. So, but we do have to have the policy along with the plan. So tonight I'm bringing you the updates on the policy. This policy was an existing policy, so it's really just edits. As you can see, we provided the red line version, but there's a lot of edits. So it's almost kind of like a new policy. But all the changes were needed. Like I said, based on that new requirement under the law that this plan have very many, like a bunch of different elements that you had to have in here. So for instance, let me glasses back. So obviously this policy is created and maintained to prevent and reduce violent incidents in the workplace. Under the background, purpose, and scope, those changes were edited to clearly define what a workplace violence, or define workplace violence and incorporate the district's workplace violence prevention plan that I had just mentioned. We edited some of the definitions to clearly define what a threat of violence is. In addition, we've clearly defined the 4 separate categories of workplace violence as defined by the labor code. Under the policy section, we made edits to clearly define that obviously workplace violence is strictly prohibited. But also that we do now have a written workplace violence prevention plan that is in coordination with this policy. And it encourages employees to report, and we're actually required to report any incidents of workplace violence, threats, or concerns without fear of retaliation. And those are all very specific things that had to be in the workplace violence plan and also in our policy. which all are common sense to me, but we had to make sure we were following all the guidelines that were in the law. But like I said, as you can see, there's a lot of changes in here, but I think the goal and the intent of the policy is still the same. There are so many changes. I didn't want to go through them one by one, but I would be happy to answer any questions regarding that or any changes that you might want to see.
Sure he did.
Yes, so, thank you. Madam Chair. Other than Cal OSHA, which is standard, I mean, so most of the big changes would be Senate Bill 553, right?
Yeah.
That's the core of it, yeah,
Yeah.
that I can see, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Cal OSHA is, we know Cal OSHA is what it is.
Yeah, I think they will be the ones that enforce it, or if we've talked about if there unfortunately would be something that would that happen negatively, then that's maybe the time when you're going to have to make sure you can provide this plan and you've had it in place, and hopefully you can prevent anything from happening because of that plan. So, yeah. But it was the Senate bill that.
Rather
prompted
be
it.
compliant with Senate Bill, it makes us even more.
Yes,
You ready?
maybe.
You're gonna wish you had what's your name up here, huh? Okay, so help me walk, because as I read this, I had some concerns. Let's go to the policy piece. You may want to put your glasses back on.
All
'cause
right.
We're gonna go through this, right? So the policy says that employees are encouraged and required. So you don't need encouraged if you're required. You don't have that latitude. You're required. So if I'm required to report, I would say in a policy, you would then ought to identify for them straight up. If you fail to report, because it's required, there needs to be an identification of what could happen to you if later on we find out you knew it, right? Because we're saying we're encouraging you, and then right away we said, no, forget the encourage. We're requiring you. And then if you look down a little bit, and then it says basically down a little bit further, employees have the right. So is it the right? Is it the encouraged? Is it the required? What exactly are we telling our employee when it comes to reporting? So that's the first thing. To me, it's like, wait a minute, which one do I get to exercise? My right? If I have a right, then I can tell you pound sand, I'm not reporting. Well, hold on, you said I got to. So I think there's some problems there, Melissa, with if I was reading this from outside of the organization, I go, whoa, which one am I supposed to? And I did, I exercised my right not to tell you, but you were demanded. Well, then I don't have a right, right? I
It's all of
lose
the
that
above.
when you demand it. So anyway, that's that part of
Yeah.
it. But then here's and just help me, because as you know, I did this for a few weeks and I love this stuff because I want to be clear with our employees. So here's the piece that I don't get. We're talking about something super uber important in our organization, right? I mean, there's few things that we deal with as a policy that are as important as violence in the workplace, right? The downstream effect of that can be so intense, it takes years for the organization to get over. God forbid it was ever to happen. You say I have a right, or I am encouraged, or whatever, we work on that language. But let's say I don't think we can legislate or policize, that's a word I just made up, away the fear of retaliation. Tell me how you do that in a policy, unless I have an option to exercise my right, my encourage, or my demand anonymously. So help me. I believe there's workplace violence going on in some scenario. But I'm fearful that retaliation is a real deal. We've seen it, we've lived it. I don't think you can put a policy together that would just wipe out everybody's fear of retaliation. They've seen experiences in our organization where that potentially occurred. So my point is, the only way I think we can get rid of the fear of retaliation is allow anonymity.
Mhm.
And I don't see anything in the policy that says, listen, here's the number you call anonymously to report a fear, a concern, an actual event, and it's done anonymously, because in my mind, that's the only way you can put a policy together that eliminates the fear, the potential fear. Because now I'm saying, well, I'm fearful of retaliation, but if no one ever knows who it is, then I don't have a legitimate fear because no one's going to know. And what you're really interested, I believe, you and the chief, according to the policy, is awareness of the event so that you can investigate it. The person who reports it may or may not be irrelevant to the issue. Am I making sense?
Yes, and I have an answer for you.
Excellent.
I thought it was in the policy, but it is definitely in the workplace violence prevention plan. There is an anonymous number, which is currently our harassment line number, but we're working on changing that to be any complaint.
Okay.
But it's in the prevention plan that employees are going to be required to read. We're required to give that to any vendors that come in our building. There's a lot of requirements, but there are anonymous ways to report any workplace violence. You can report it directly to your supervisor. If they're the ones doing the violence, you can report it to HR, but there are step-by-step
Oh, yeah.
guidelines in
Right.
the plan, just not in this policy. But
I
we
would-
could add it.
Yeah, I would say that it needs to be in the policy. So if somebody wants to know, what do I do if I believe there's violence in the workplace, they're going to go to the policy potentially and look it up and see alignment between what plan you have and the policy as it relates to that fear of retaliation piece.
Absolutely.
Those are the two things that I looked at when I was reading this from the perspective of, I'm a new employee, I want to know what we're doing. And I just thought, well, I don't know if I'm required, if I'm encouraged, or if I have a right. And so I think we need to pick one. I don't care which one it is. I'm assuming you guys would like required.
Yeah,
But
I
can
think
you
it's
really
all
do
of the
that?
above in our minds.
Huh?
Like we're encouraging you
And just leave it at that.
to require, I don't know.
Right? And then you're giving me a right? That's kind of
Yeah.
cool. I didn't know we had that power.
Some of
Right.
those words are straight from the Senate bill that's referred to in
Guys are
here.
knuckleheads. We're better than that.
Yeah.
Melissa, with
Melissa, does that make sense?
Mhm.
Those concerns when I look at this policy? Because I do, I believe this is one of the most significant and far reaching, but as I read it, I'm like, well, okay, I don't know which one I'm supposed to work with.
Right.
I'm encouraged that you're requiring it and giving me an opportunity. I'm encouraged by that.
Yeah.
Chief?
Melissa, with respect to Director Gould's question, I believe there is a difference between the employees and their position, where the encouragement comes from a non-supervisor, where a requirement comes from the supervisor and above, and that might be why it's written that way.
Yeah, and that's great.
That has to be
But
spelled
then
out.
that needs to be explained, that if you're at this rank, it's a duty,
Right.
right? So anyway, Melissa, I know you love when you get to see me and I do this to you.
I do, always.
Because I know you just said, you kind of set it up where we've been spending hours and decades on this one, and
Yeah.
I come in and find some things
But
that
that's why. we
you're
bring
used to
it.
that with me, though. I know you are.
That's part of it. Part of the review process, like.
That's right.
that's- that's
It's the
all your
unpleasant
input.
part of it. That's what you
Not
want to
at
say.
all, not at all.
So if it is are you done? I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
didn't mean to
totally.
jump in. So if it is a mandated duty to,
Okay,
okay.
I got it.
Now my question is, where do they find this plan?
We haven't got that far yet. The plan is done. But when we're still working on some of the logistics of how to get it out to all employees. We have a bunch of different ideas. It'll be available in our apps. It'll be, but when, say, for the instance, when vendors come in or any visitors, we're not really sure how just yet to give them access. When we've talked about a lot of stuff in our security meetings, so we're getting there for sure. But hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have that worked out.
May I?
We wanted to get the policy in place and
Okay.
then figure out the distribution of it
May-
once this is approved, because this is a board policy, so
Work in
it
progress.
it will need to go to board first, so
The work in
Yes,
progress.
I understand. May I make a suggestion?
please.
Can we put, once you figure out where the plan is going to be, put that in the policy? The location?
Yes,
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Like where you can find it.
Reference?
Or, yeah, you reference the plan here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that way they can find it easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
That's a good idea. And we just want to be conscious of it only being available necessarily to our employees, because we don't necessarily want to tell the outside world what our plan is for protection.
Yep.
You know?
Yes.
So, yeah, the plan is about 44 pages long, so it's a very long, intricate plan. So,
But if the employee does go to the policy.
yes,
Then at the end, they can find
Yeah.
a reference on where to find the plan.
yep. I will definitely add that.
Thank you. Okay. Any other comments,
Uh,
questions, concerns?
No, thank you. Thank
Okay.
you, Madam Chair.
Great job. Thanks for the
Thank-
work.
Yeah, I would, again, I'd have to thank Leslie Miller. She
Yes.
put a lot of work into this, so
Tell Leslie from us that
we will.
this is an excellent, a tough one, but we appreciate everything. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
Continue the good work.
Yes. Okay, so having finished that, this brings this meeting to a close. Our next meeting will be September 11th here in these chambers. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.